listening to the Why Boarding School podcast, broadcasting around the world. Join us as we promote independent boarding schools throughout the United States and Canada with our invited guests. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jeffrey Quebec.
Welcome to the Why Boarding School podcast. I'm Jeff Quebec, and today I'm joined by the Director of Residential Admissions at Woodside Priory School in Portola Valley, California, Nils Leitz. Welcome, Nils. Great to have you here today.
Hi, Jeff. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Woodside Priory School's history dates back to 1957, when it was founded by a group of 7 Catholic Benedictine monks from Hungary. Originally an all-boys boarding school, over the years, day students were accepted. In the early 1990s, Woodside Priory became coeducational when the school began accepting girls. In 2004, the school expanded to also include girls within their boarding program. So Nils, perhaps you can start off by giving our audience a brief overview of the number of students at Woodside Priory School, the grades you offer, where the students come from, etc.
Yeah, so we are a 6 through 12 co-ed independent school. Our boarding program starts in 9th grade. So we have 125 middle schoolers, about 40 to the grade, in 6th, 7th, and 8th. Our boarding program starts in 9th. We have 308 total high schoolers next year. 55 of them will live in the dorms.
And where will those students be coming from, the boarding students?
Those students are coming from all over the world. So we actually have 15 countries represented next year. We have students from Asia, students from Europe, students from Africa, and students locally as well. So all of our students are 7-day boarders, but next year we'll have 9 domestic students, including students from the Bay Area whose families might live 20, 30 minutes away, but they live on our campus Monday through Monday, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Very nice.
7 days a week, yeah.
And Nils, what's the academic curriculum like at Priory?
Yeah, so we offer a really rigorous academic curriculum. We offer AP. So students tend to start taking APs in their junior year. We really feel like we can offer that rigorous curriculum and college outcomes without breaking students. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about balance. But as far as their academics go, we try to give them as broad a base as we can. So we have a pretty broad set of requirements that students can play with. We obviously require students to take math, English, history. We also, though, require students to take more minimal requirements or more minimal time requirements in courses of study like computer science, theology. We have an athletics requirement, visual arts, performing arts. Again, really to give students a broad base as they move into college and the rest of their lives.
That's nice. Nice you're getting exposed to all those different opportunities. And can you talk a little bit about the assistance which is offered through the Office of Learning Support at Priory?
Yeah, so about 25% of our students use the Office of Learning Support in some capacity. Some of our students come in already with learning accommodations or learning plans, students with dyslexia, dysgraphia. They're obviously working with the Office of Learning Support in a more structured way. There are other ways, especially our international students touch base with the Office of Learning Support. We actually require all of our international students coming from non-English curricula to take a study hall. So they go to the Office of Learning Support. We have them located in our library. We don't offer ESL or ELL classes, but we do offer ESL support. So our team in the Learning Support Center, there's 2 women, Tara and Amy. They're both trained in ESL education. And so they work with students as they navigate those English and history classes, especially where they are with other American students in an all-English environment. They have that extra time built into their schedule where they have access to those adults who can help them write their essays, help them with their reading skills, help them communicate with their teachers, everything like that.
Very nice. And can you tell me a little bit about the visual and performing arts offerings?
Yeah, so very, very broad. So as far as performing arts goes, we have offerings both academically, so during the day, and then also extracurricularly. And we do have a requirement again. So all of our students get involved in some way with performing arts. Sometimes that means getting on stage, acting, or playing an instrument or singing in the choir. Sometimes that means going a little bit behind the scenes, helping out with costuming. Our students run the lights, they run the direction, the costuming for our shows. And sometimes that means more academic. So we offer improv classes. We offer, actually one of our teachers, his primary focus in grad school was on stage fighting. So he offers a class on stage sword fighting. So students can sort of dip their toe, they can get involved how they will. As far as visual arts goes, and we also have a visual arts requirement 2 years, although students can obviously go above and beyond. We offer more traditional classes, drawing and painting, photography. We do offer a lot of CAD classes, so computer-aided design, but probably our flagship programs in visual arts would be our ceramic studio, our glass studio, and our metal workshop. So students have a lot of opportunities, especially in 3D art, to explore in ways that they don't usually have access to, even outside of school, with glass blowing, glass forming, and metalwork.
So they're doing glass blowing. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So we have, up in our glass studio, we have it outfitted with, so they actually just got a new, and they don't call it a kiln. So they have a kiln that they do glass forming in. They make bowls. They make really beautiful mosaic, almost glassware. They have actually like a Bunsen burners, almost little blow torches that they do a lot of lamp work with. So some of the more delicate glasswork, but they just got a brand new furnace for actual glass blowing, which is going to be huge for our kids.
What an awesome opportunity for students to be doing that at this age level.
Yeah.
Cool art. Are there any special signature programs that are offered at Priory?
Yeah, so I would say in visual arts, those are definitely probably our most unique opportunities. We do also have a program for students to get involved more locally. So we are the only boarding school in Silicon Valley, and families are always looking for ways to get involved. We do have students who find their own research programs. We have students who find their own internship programs, but we do also have a program that students can apply into. It's a 1-year sort of fellowship program where students can actually do research, do a little bit of internship, attend lectures in Silicon Valley. And so it's a 1-year program, but it typically spans 2 academic years. So usually it's either spring of sophomore, fall of junior, or spring of junior, fall of senior year. But just gives students a little bit of real world experience, especially those who are interested more in STEM and business.
So with the internships, are connecting with different businesses in the community?
Exactly. So we have some partnerships just through current families, but we also have just partnerships with different institutions in the area, different companies in the area that are looking for either help or sometimes more shadowing.
Sure, and certainly a great opportunity for those students to maybe not only find out what they like, but also maybe what they don't like.
Exactly. And I think oftentimes that's more important. And that's kind of the driving principle, or one of the driving principles behind that academic breadth, right? Is a student might come in thinking they don't like art, and we make them take art. And there's 2 best case scenarios, I guess. One is that they love art and they decide to run with it and they find that passion. The other best case scenario is that they realize they were right all along and they didn't like it, but now they know.
Sure. Or senior year, they're working on their portfolio because they're flying to art school.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. So how about athletics, Nils? Is every student required to play a sport each season? And also, what are some of the athletic offerings that Priory has?
Yeah, so all of our students, they have a 2-season requirement. So they're able to split that up how they will. I will tell you about 80% of our students play at least one sport every year. most of our students play multiple sports in the year. Outside of the more, I guess, standard American school offerings, right? American football, volleyball, basketball, soccer, tennis, cross country, and track. We do offer a water polo team, which is very competitive. They went undefeated, so our boys water polo team went undefeated this year. They're moving up a division. Our boys basketball team actually was the state champs this year, which we're very proud of. Girls basketball, girls volleyball are also very strong. And all of our athletics is no cut. So I think more important probably than the no cut policy, which basically just means that if a student wants to play, they get to play, is that there really is a culture of that exploration. I think it's all well and good to have a no cuts policy, but if no one takes you up on it because it's still socially awkward or cliquey or somehow else socially awkward, then there's really no point in having the no cuts policy because you still have siloed teams. But something that I love about our students is that they really will just dive in and try something new. We see seniors trying new sports all the time. I had an advisee last year who decided to play water polo even though he never had, because he was going to a big school, a D1 school, and realized he wasn't probably going to be able to just dip his toe in the water, I guess pun intended. And so senior year, he decided to play water polo just because he had some friends who did. And we see that a lot with our boarding students, especially our international students, because it is a great way for them to break the ice, to make friends, to have that crossover between our boarding population and our day population. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, good for him. It's the Panthers, right?
Yeah, the Priory
So it sounds
Panthers.
like the Panthers are having some great success in sports. That's great.
Yes, well deserved, I'll say.
So Nils, what we're going to do is take a quick break.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We're going to continue our conversation talking about the Woodside Priory School in Portola Valley, California.
Do you have any questions or guests that you'd like to see on an upcoming Why Boarding School podcast? You can contact us directly through our website at whyboardingschool.com. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to the Why Boarding School podcast. I'm Jeff Quebec, and today I'm joined by the Director of Residential Admissions at Woodside Priory School in Portola Valley, California, Nils Leitz. And Nils, as we continue our conversation, can you share with us what is a typical school day like at Priory?
Yeah, so for our boarding students, the day usually starts, kind of starts whenever they want. The school day doesn't start until 9 a.m.
Okay.
Breakfast is served from 7 till 8:45. So somewhere in that window, they roll out of bed, they walk over to the cafeteria, grab some breakfast, make their way down to class. But our school day runs 9 to 3. Typically, students are taking 4 classes in a day. We have a block schedule, so they're taking 7 classes, in a semester, 4 classes in a day. We always have one break after either the first or the second class. So every day, students have 15 minutes to get a little bit of that brain break, talk with their peers, talk with their teachers, get a little sunshine, because that's one thing that I will mention. We have an all outdoor campus in the sense that we don't have any hallways. All of our classrooms open to air, so in between classes at those break periods, students are out in the California sunshine. But they go back into class. We have lunch in the middle of the day, naturally, usually 2 more classes after lunch, and then they're out. Once a week, we do have extended break. So on Tuesdays, the students have extra time. We call it collaboration, and students are able to either meet with teachers for office hours, or we encourage them to get started on group projects so that they don't have to do that on the weekend or after school. So a little bit of academic free time, academically minded free time. We also once a week have advisory. So we break all of our students starting 9th grade. We break them all into groups of about 8 to 10, pair them with a faculty advisor who stays with them until they graduate. But we meet, so I meet with my advisory every Friday, just touch base. How are things going? What are you stressed about? What are you working towards, keeps everybody sort of on the level. And then once a week we do have chapel. So chapel for us is kind of like an all-school assembly. The whole school comes together. And the focal point of chapel isn't necessarily a religious experience, but it's one community member gets up and shares. So either a student or a faculty member talks about something that's important to them, something that's going on in their life. Maybe they have some advice for students. Maybe they just want to open up and be a little bit vulnerable. But that's another sort of non-academic time that we build into the schedule just to build cohesiveness, to build that sense of community. But after school, so school day ends at 3 o'clock. 3 to 4 is kind of a witching hour, if you will. Students will hang out, they get started on homework, they grab a snack, because 4 to 6 is usually more structured time for extracurriculars. So a lot of students go down to the court or the field or the pool, play sports or practice. But that's also the time period when students are involved with drama, for example, or involved in robotics is another big one. Model UN, right, which might meet a little more infrequently, but still takes up that chunk of students' attention in that 4 to 6 hour time. Dinner's at 6:30. Usually we budget half an hour for dinner. Students eat fast, especially when they're hungry after practice. And then 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we have study hall. So our first year students, so whether you're a ninth grader or if you're in your first semester as a transfer, you actually do all your homework out in the common room. It's huge, especially for our ninth graders, because a lot of our ninth grade curriculum is shared. All of our ninth graders take the same English class, the same history class, the same science class, physics, the same theology class. So you have the same teachers, the same homework, the same test schedule. You get to keep yourselves honest and, get that extra support from our resident faculty who are obviously chaperoning. And then our older students do have the option to go into their bedrooms if they prefer to work quietly on their own or with their roommate. After study hall, they have free time. So once a week, they'll have a class meeting or a dorm meeting. But the rest of the time, they'll have free time in our common rooms, pool table, ping pong tables. And we have a girls' dorm and a boys' dorm. I probably should have led with. So we have 2 different dorms, 2 different common rooms, but the students kind of cross-populate. But they also have access to the wider campus, so some students use that time to go to the gym or hang out in the down in the fields, play some pickup. And then lights out at 11 o'clock on the weeknights. So pretty full day, I guess, in those
Sounds like a very busy day.
Yeah.
And so what are the weekends like at Priory? Are there different events on campus or clubs or that meet, or different activities, maybe trips off campus?
Yeah, so for us, the weekends are obviously more dorm focused.
Okay.
Every weekend there is a one sort of linchpin event that's planned. So it might be something big off campus. Usually about once a month, students go to San Francisco. We're about 40 minutes south of San Francisco. So they might go to a museum, hang out at a park, go for a meal. Usually about once a month, students go to the beach. We're about 20 minutes from the ocean. Students will also, one of our former resident faculty, current teacher, Mr. Somerville, takes students. He loves to surf. So takes students, teaches them how to surf. Usually once or twice a month, students like to go bowling and rock climbing are the 2 most popular events right now. The students always, especially rock climbing, is growing in popularity, I guess, among our boarding population for whatever reason. But they love it, so they'll go out and those are, the whole Dorm community is invited. Everyone goes and does something together. Obviously, you can still opt out if you have something else to do, but those are really those community building events. On campus, we also have, students will organize movie nights. They'll organize, even we just had our dorm Olympics. So big competition, takes all weekend. There are singing competitions, athletic competitions. They always do a fashion show. So a lot of different ways for students to get involved, a lot of different ways for students to engage in something like that. And then smaller options too. So if a student ever wants to just go get boba or run to Target, they can either ask a resident faculty and say, hey, I just want to run this errand really quick, just the two of us, or they might say, hey, I was kind of thinking I'm getting a little stir crazy and maybe I'm not, I want to do more this weekend than just go up to San Francisco. Can we organize something to go to the movies or go to the mall or go over to Stanford? And then even during the week, we actually had one student who's organized weekly trips this year to Stanford. It's about 15 minutes away. But Stanford offers lectures open to the public, so he's organized. They take usually a group of 10 or 11 students, depending on the week. We'll go over and listen and learn. So a lot of options, and students have a lot of agency in picking what they want to do, especially because we're a smaller program. I think students hear their voices heard in that way.
Nils, it certainly seems like a great example of Priory being very student-centered, with the students being involved in this process and the different offerings and opportunities throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
And earlier you referenced meals. So what are the meals like at Priory? Are they served sit-down, they buffet, or are they required? How does that work?
Yeah, so it is buffet, and I'll say the food is good.
Okay, that's always a good thing, right?
Yeah, so I eat lunch on campus every day. I eat breakfast on campus probably 4 times a week. Almost all teachers, probably 99% of teachers eat lunch in the cafeteria every day. And almost all of our students. It's very rare to see a student bring lunch. But it is buffet style, so there's always a hot option. So students can go in line. There's always a hot option that contains meat and a hot option that's vegetarian. So students still have options, and it is pretty diverse. So the hot options are changed every day. One day you might have lasagna, the next day you might have curry, the next day you might have chicken, the next day you'll have pizza, the next day you'll have, right? It keeps you guessing, but then you always know that you have your salad bar, your hot bar, your sandwich bar that you can go to. If you don't like the hot option, I fall asleep if I have lasagna for lunch. So that's a day where I might go to the salad bar. And we have really extensive offerings there, both in terms of pre-made salads, but also, kale that we grow in our garden, various vegetables that you can put on top, chicken, tofu, salmon, and then even some fruits. I always have my bowl of pineapple for dessert.
Very nice.
But breakfast, similarly, it's great. There's always eggs, some kind of potato, some kind of meat, and sometimes they spice it up with a waffle or a pancake or French toast. But students still have access to a cereal bar. They have access to fruit, oatmeal. So they always know they have their options, and then they can kind of get surprised a little bit by what else is offered. And dinner is probably our best meal. I only stay pretty rarely for dinner, but because they're cooking for so few kids, they really get to be a little bit creative with it. The food tends to be really, really good and fresh. Yeah, and one other thing that I'll note is that all the food is included. So that's obviously breakfast, lunch, and dinner is all wrapped up, including snacks. So we leave our cafeteria open During breaks, students can run in, grab a granola bar, grab a piece of fruit, grab a sandwich, grab a bagel. And we actually have coolers around campus too where they can do the same. So students do not go.
I was going to say, no one's going hungry at Priory.
No.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So how about dorm life? What's dorm life like?
Yeah, so the dorms are really a center of student life on our campus, kind of outsized. So it's usually about 20% of our students are in the dorms, 15 or 20%. But I would say they have an outsized influence. You actually see a lot of day students hang out in the dorms, especially in that time after school, but before sports. The dorms are full. We have 55 kids, but there might be 100 kids in the dorm, playing pool, playing ping pong, hanging out, playing video games. So it is very, cross division in that way, right? So day students can sort of participate during the week. But our dorms are their own community as well. They build a really cohesive community in some structured ways, in some more organic ways. Our resident faculty, we have 3 men who live in the boys' dorm. We have 3 women who live in the girls' dorm. They do a lot in terms of programming, especially for our new students, in terms of retreats, in terms of dorm Olympics, like I mentioned, and especially class bonding, so that the freshmen can really get to know the freshmen, the sophomores can really get to know the sophomores, in addition to existing within this larger ecosystem of the dorms, which then lives inside the larger ecosystem of the school writ large. But then in more organic ways too, right? All of our students share a room, or the majority do. We have a few singles, but we really encourage students to share a room their 4 years, just because it helps that socialization. We do a deep dive into applications when students start in terms of pairing them up with a roommate. And the way we think about it is we want to pair someone with a roommate who obviously you get along with, right? And is going to share some of your interests, who you can sort of retreat into your room, have that bond with them. That's the ideal. But also a student who's going to help you break outside of that comfort zone a little bit. So we try to pair students up from different countries. We try to pair students up who have a little bit something different, so that you're not just in your room. We want you to make sure, obviously there are ways that we force you to get involved. There are ways we force you to have balance, but we also want to make sure that we're setting you up to feel comfortable taking advantage of that, and having a roommate is a huge part of that, I think.
It's also okay to be out of your comfort zone once in a while too, right?
Exactly. And I think what's great about Priory is that, right, there's comfort zone, which sometimes is good. Sometimes a comfort zone can be a little bit unhealthy, right? But then beyond the comfort zone, there is that sort of safe zone where you're not in chaos, you're not in a scared zone, but you're not necessarily perfectly in your comfort zone. There's a pretty wide range of that safe zone. And that's where we really encourage students to stay. We're not trying to make anyone scared or anxious about taking advantage of new things. Like I mentioned with our athletics, right? We force you to take 2 seasons, but you could quit after that. No big deal. No one's going to judge you for it. No one's going to, if you really don't want to and you've tried it and you didn't like it, or with art, if you tried it and didn't like it, that's great. But if you are a little bit nervous about doing more, because you want to, but you're kind of afraid of what people will think, or you're afraid of not being good enough, that's where I think Priory, both at an administrative level and then just a cultural level, a social level, our students help to perpetuate a really good culture of inclusivity, in that sense of, it's okay to feel a little bit nervous about joining the team, but I want you to join. No matter how good you are, you could be the worst player on the team, and we're still going to celebrate you. And there's no shame in that. There's no, there's no detriment to trying, and that's to do with our athletics, drama, even academics, right? If you want to try something, your teachers are going to support you, your administration is going to support you, and I think most importantly, we find those students, we bring those students to campus who already have that kindness to them, and then they really help perpetuate that culture on campus of the students themselves saying, hey, let's take away some of this peer pressure, let's take away some of this stigma, because we're all just here to figure out what we like and what we don't like.
That's awesome. And so, Nils, would you say, is there a typical Priory student?
Yeah, I would say our typical student is the one who wants to take advantage of things. I'll say, you don't always see a student fully formed when they're coming in, especially to secondary school. You don't always see a student who has already taken advantage of a lot of structured offerings, whether that's sports, drama, robotics. What you can see often is a student mindset. So a student who is social, a student who is kind, who is, maybe more collaborative than competitive, right? The student who says in their essay, they want to come to the U.S. because they want to do this and this and this and this and this, right? Is probably the type of student who gets here. Maybe they already play basketball, right? But they get here and their roommate is in the school play. Maybe they say, hey, I'll go try out. I'll go rehearse. But let's see if I like that. That kind of mindset is what we're really looking for. And that's the student who has a good time here. We do have students who are a little bit more one-track mind, whether they're really STEM focused or really arts focused or really sports focused. And they have great outcomes. They do great things. They make friends. They have a good time here. But I think they probably might prefer a place where they could be fully one-track mind. Some of our students, right? The vast majority of our students, I think, really are the ones who are excited by the prospect of needing to do a lot of different things, of getting the opportunity to try. If you're in 8th grade and you have always been an artist and you've never played sports, but you just need that push, right? And or the opposite, if you're really sporty and are just looking for that push to take that advanced history class, right? That's where we can help you out. We can give you that push. We can help you figure out exactly who you are. You don't need to know who you are already, but the students who are excited about figuring out who they are, that's who we like.
Well, combined with the fact that there seems like there's so many wonderful opportunities for students to get involved at Priory.
Yeah.
So are there any cool traditions, Nils, at Priory that may be unique from other schools, or perhaps there's that one tradition that you hope always remains part of the school?
Yeah, I think, I mentioned a little bit already, I think our dorm Olympics are probably the most unique thing we do, at least in the dorms. Okay. They're long days, 14, 15-hour days. And like I said, students compete with each other.
This is like athletic competition, essentially?
So it's everything. So typically, the students are split into 4 teams, almost like countries, right? In the Olympics, co-ed, girls and boys, and then there are some athletic competitions. So basketball, volleyball, little sort of scrimmages, but then also, races down at the track, or, physical events, but not necessarily athletic, like a three-legged race or an egg toss, right? But then in addition to the athletic competition, which, some of our students excel at, we also have singing competitions, almost like talent show portion, right? Singing, musical instruments, acting, some of that more performative aspect, right? Then for our students who are a little bit more behind the scenes, right? We always have more artistic endeavors. So whether it's true just speed drawing or speed painting that some of our students have really loved in the past, but they also always do a fashion show. So students get a theme and they have to design an outfit, and each team has to send, a student down the runway. So it allows our students with all sorts of interests to get not only a little bit of that competitive spirit, which is fun, right? When it's within that group that holds each other up, but it also then allows our students to get a lot of recognition. Even the students who aren't necessarily getting that recognition on the court or on the field, it allows students to really showcase their talents, showcase their passions to their other students and the adults who are obviously such big parts of their lives.
And so how many days does this take place over?
It's 2 days.
Okay. Seems like some intense days
A
then.
long weekend, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Nils, is there anything about Woodside Priory that we didn't discuss today that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I guess we've touched on it in most of my answers, but I think really what we pride ourselves on is the balance that we give students. We offer a really rigorous academic curriculum, a really broad academic curriculum. We send students every year to great universities across the country, across the world. Over the past 5 years, our largest sender school is Stanford, second largest is Cornell. That being said, we recognize that you can have really great outcomes, a really rigorous environment without becoming a very competitive, cutthroat school. You can give students the opportunity to prioritize extracurriculars and academics, while also leaving time. And this is I think what's unique to Priory. We have those buckets: extracurriculars, academics, and that's how a lot of schools I think about balance. But something from our Benedictine tradition is the idea of that third bucket, which is leisure. So we want you to, play sports. We want you to do robotics. We want you to do a play or a musical. We want you to take AP classes and post AP classes and broaden your mind, but we also want you to be a teenager. We want you to have some time to chill out, to hang out with your friends, to play video games, to play ping pong, and to grow as a person, because that personal growth in a lot of ways is just as important as your academic growth or your extracurricular growth. And so I think, again, allowing students to have that balance is one thing. Forcing students and making sure students have that balance is quite another thing. And that's something that I really appreciate about Priory, is giving students the opportunity to really grow as people outside of their more structured resume building activities.
Well, very well said. So if someone's interested, Nils, in Woodside Priory School, how might they go about starting the admissions process?
Yeah, so great place to start naturally is our website, but our website will send you either to Ravenna or the SAO. So we accept both in terms
And for those who don't know what that
applications.
means?
SAO standard application online. It's through the SSAT. Ravenna.com is another, RavennaHub.com is another website, sort of a common application where you can apply to many different schools. We have no preference on our end between the two applications. They have the same deadlines, same requirements, same admit rates, everything like that. Through your portal that you'll build on either of those websites, you'll also then have access to different events, webinars, ways that you can get in contact with me, which you can also just email me. That's a great way to get started, I guess. But you'll also have access then on your own to different webinars, different online events, ways to come to campus, to see campus, whether you're international or more local. And I'm just always here. That's my job, is to make the application process as easy as possible. It might not be as stress-free as possible, I know that, but as easy as possible for you and your families. So always reach out with any questions or concerns.
Great. And the school's website address is?
Yep, www.prioryca.org. CA
Perfect.
is in California.
Perfect. prioryca.org, right? ORG.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Nils, it's been great. I've enjoyed our conversation and learning more about Woodside Priory School. Thank you very much.
All right. Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Nils Leitz, Director of Residential Admissions, Woodside Priory School in Portola Valley, California.
Thank you for listening to the Why Boarding School podcast. We look forward to you joining us for our next episode. Please remember to subscribe to the Why Boarding School podcast and help us spread the word. Until next time.